How's it going, everyone? I hope you're all doing well. And seeing as 2022 is now upon us, I thought it might be fun to review all of the individual phones that I used throughout 2021 and pick out a few of my favorites. Now, while this isn't going to be super scientific, I am going to be taking a look at all of the phones, what I liked about them, and picking a favorite from both iPhone and Android. Because I did try some Androids last year, which was nice and refreshing. This is kind of going to be like MKBHD Smartphone Awards, but just less good. Like this Coke. Who the f*** likes Coke Zero? Alright, so the first two phones I used this year were the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 12. Now, while this is essentially just one phone and then an upgraded version of that, along with the new design language, out of these two, I'm gonna have to say I prefer the iPhone 11. Namely because now it's much cheaper, and also my iPhone 12 ended up breaking, like, badly, so that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Now, obviously, there were some nice video upgrades going from the iPhone 11 to the iPhone 12, especially with the stabilization. The iPhone 12 had some of the best video stabilization I'd ever tried, but I'm still gonna give this one to the iPhone 11. However, next up, we had the iPhone 4S. Wow, what a new phone. Now, this phone was something that I'd wanted to try for a long time. It was basically the trophy phone when I first started getting into technology at around the age of 11. So finally being able to try this phone was kind of nice. However, and that's a big however, unfortunately, the iPhone 4S just wasn't all that usable. You couldn't install all that many apps. Finding a charger was more of a challenge than I anticipated. The camera sucked, and battery life was not good. So yeah, well, it was a fun experience, and I do think the iPhone 4S does have a nice little bit of charm to it. I don't think that's gonna be my favorite phone of the year. After this, we have my first iPhone ever, the iPhone 7. Now, it's fair to say I do have a bit of a soft spot for this phone. However, I do think that in 2021, I kind of finally outgrew it. The battery life certainly was a pretty big hurdle using this thing day to day in 2021. So while I could still run all my apps on it just fine, the battery life was a little bit of a deal killer for me. Up next, though, we had the first phone that was new to me that year, namely the iPhone 11 Pro. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to like this phone as much as I did. At this point, I already had tried the iPhone 11, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. However, what I wasn't expecting is for this to be one of the best looking phones I've ever seen. Also, it ran like a charm. At the time, it was the second newest iPhone, so no surprises there. And I loved having the 3-camera system. Seriously, that made getting some really fun, unique angles when taking photos on my phone just a breeze. So yeah, very strong contender there. Up next, we have the iPhone XR. Now, in recent years, this phone has got a little bit of a cult following, namely because of the amazing value for money it provided, and the fact that you could actually buy it new till relatively recently. But in my opinion, I kind of think the iPhone 11 has replaced this a little bit now. So while I do very much still like this phone, I mean, it was essentially the first affordable notched iPhone, I do personally still prefer the iPhone 11. After this, we have the old faithful iPhone 8. Honestly, I think at this point, this probably is as old as you should go when looking for an iPhone, because the battery life is still pretty surprisingly good. I will absolutely maintain that the gold color that I have my iPhone 8 in is one of the nicest colors Apple have ever released a phone in. And so, looks aside, it still runs great, and I had a lot of fun using it. In my day-to-day life, I did notice the screen was a little bit small, and it is lacking on some of those newer features like Face ID, but it was still a little bit too forgettable for it to be one of my favorite phones of the year. After this, in an almost poetic return to glory, I saw a return to the iPhone 10. Now, for those of you who aren't new to the channel, you will know this is one of my favorite phones ever. I used that thing as my daily driver for so long, I think longer than any other phone. And I also used that phone on my trip to the Lake District last year, which was one of my favorite things I did. It was also one of my favorite reviews I made last year. But speaking strictly in terms of sheer phoneage, in 2021, I did find myself wanting a bit more. And that's where the iPhone XS comes in. Honestly, I think this is just a pretty good run-of-the-mill iPhone. If you want to get an iPhone, but you don't want to spend a ton of money, but you're still willing to buy used, and you would like some of those higher-end features like the nice display, or you're just a sucker for a telephoto lens like I am, then the iPhone XS is honestly still a great run-of-the-mill iPhone. After this, we're moving on to the Android side of things. Now, as I said before, I did try out a few Androids last year, nowhere near as many as the iPhones I tried out, but still, there were definitely some standouts. First off, we had the Samsung S10. Now, I actually quite liked that phone. While there were certainly a couple of things that wound me up about it, the overall experience with the Samsung S10 was pretty positive. I also still maintain my position that it is one of the best looking phones ever made. So while there were some things that I didn't like about it, I did certainly still enjoy using it. But after that, I tried my first Google Pixel phone, specifically the Pixel 4a. To say this was a phone that blew me away would honestly be a bit of an understatement. I still think this is one of the best value phones that you can buy. Despite only having one camera and being made out of plastic and using a fingerprint sensor, everything that it did so right that honestly, the Pixel 4a that I paid like 280 Great British quids for honestly rose the bar of Android for me. So after that, I took a look at the Pixel 6 Pro. While it was certainly a very good phone that I enjoyed using a lot, with one of the best underscreen fingerprint sensors I've ever had the pleasure of using, not to mention the truly excellent camera system. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit too big for me, so it wasn't practical to use as a daily driver. And finally, for 2021, I tried out the standard Pixel 4. Honestly, while I personally don't think it's as good of a deal as the Pixel 4a, it's still a really nice phone. It's got that nice Pixel personality to it with the orange lock button. It has got 2 focal lengths, and little features like the squeezy bezel made this a truly memorable phone for me. But which were my favorites? On the iPhone side of things, it's kind of uncontested. It was the iPhone 11 Pro. Seriously, that phone was just so nice. Honestly, I think that was probably my perfect phone, and I got rid of it. Good job on that. And in terms of Android, everyone saw this coming. It's the Google Pixel 4a. So that was quite a lot of phones. Now, realistically, of course, while I enjoyed some phones more than others last year, I do think technology is in a good place now, to where most phones are good. Honestly, it's quite difficult to go wrong with a lot of modern smartphones. Honestly, I liked individual things about all of the phones on this list, but in terms of overall favorites, definitely these two. Right, seeing as that's all done, I think it's time to make the first cup of coffee of the year, at least on this channel. I got a new lens, can you tell? It's wider, because my other one randomly died, and I'm trying to get that fixed. Gonna be using it while I'm waiting for my proper lens to get fixed. I like this stuff. That was obnoxious, but nice. So towards the end of last year, I did have to take a little bit of a break, as I'm sure some of you may have noticed. So towards the end, I decided to just put out a few videos at a nice relaxed pace and spend the rest of the time just recovering. But I am very pleased to let you know I have fully got my energy back, and I absolutely cannot wait to get on with making videos this year. I've got tons of really cool ideas planned. I always find that generally happens towards the end of the year, and then in the new year, I have like a ton of fresh ideas and I'm super ready to go. The probably next video, or maybe the video after that, video after that, is a really fun concept that I cannot wait to tackle. So yeah, this year, I'm pretty pumped to be making videos. Anyway, let's wrap this one up, and for that, back to the studio. All right, guys, so that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Let me know, by the way, what was your favorite phone of 2021? Was it an iPhone? Was it an Android? Or was it something completely different? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading those. As for now, though, as always, thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you want to see more content like this, then smash that subscribe button. I'm done for now, and I will see you guys in the next one.